Hello,
Hi.
we're here. It feels like it's been a very long 3 weeks.
hmm
Welcome back. Are we gonna just get into it?
Yes.
That'll be the Tism.
Welcome to episode 31 of That'll Be the Tism.
I'm Emma,
And I'm Claire.
and we are a podcast about our lives as late diagnosed and discovered neurodivergent people trying to adult.
Woo! I think the woo is just part of it now. In my
Here's
brain
part
at
of it.
least.
It timed it quite well though, because when we did all the timing, when we got the jiggers, and it was a little bit longer than what we spoke for, and the woo just fit nicely. So, it works.
The woo fit nicely. Title of the podcast.
Yeah, we might need one.
Speaking of which,
We might need to use that because Descript started actually listening to the words we say and using those words and not making as many mistakes, which is good from an editing point of view, but also from a picking a title of the podcast point of view, it's not so great.
yes, it was slim pickings, and I am not happy with Descript. AI is taking over. AI knows what we are saying now.
Yeah, it even got our email address right and stuff.
Yeah, and it's just not good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too good, actually, but
Depends on which way you look at it, doesn't it?
lower your service levels, Descript, we're on to you. So the last episode was an Amorism,
Yes.
which was toxic to castle, which was actually toxic to cattle.
But it should have been, but I actually said toxic to castle.
Yeah, but it should have been that. So it was an Amorism. So if we haven't got a descriptism, we're just going to use Amorisms because, as you said,
Yeah, it's
in I
usually
think the last episode, there's usually one or two in a.
I do tend to say things that aren't the right things
Yeah.
often.
I've been doing that though the last couple of weeks. I don't know whether it's like an
Shaky.
overwhelm thing or the heat or whatever it's been, but instead of saying that I had a meeting today, I was saying to Andrew when I was talking to him about it yesterday, I was saying, "Oh, I've got a meeting yesterday,
Yeah. I mean,
today,
it
tomorrow."
could also be hormones, but
I don't know, really,
that's
to
the
be
thing that
honest.
happens as we get older.
Who
But
knows?
yeah,
I was just like, that's not actually the word that I'm meaning to say, and that's the problem.
it's the whole I'm just going to go and put this in the oven, microwave, fridge, which is what I often say when I'm
Yeah.
going into the kitchen and hope that one of the things is right. Usually it's the last one that I say that's right, but I have to cycle
But
through them all just to get to the right one.
yeah.
So we're doing a proper podcast that isn't spoonless, even though we're both tired and warm. And because the last episode was a spoonless episode, it has been 5 weeks since we've recorded one of those. And so both of us have forgotten entirely what to do. And we apologise in advance for any inconvenience that may cause. But here
Hmm.
we are anyway. So how have you been, Claire?
Hyperfocus of the week.
I don't know. I don't know. I need to introduce our video viewers before we start to the frog that we won in the arcade on my holiday because it was for the dog and it has now become my fidget toy. So I'm doing various things to it. And if any of them are offensive, I apologise in advance. I've never really found plushies a thing that I fidget with or that brings me comfort, but I'm finding myself like squishing it and hugging it, and I had my face on it before while we were talking, and I'm like, I just need to be very careful that I don't accidentally get myself cancelled. So
You don't want to assault
if
it.
I do anything inappropriate with this frog, we'll probably edit it out. The frog consents. It's very blurry, but it consents
Yeah.
to my
It
actions.
looks like a happy chappy.
Yeah, there you go. So I have been on holiday, which is why my brain's still sort of half in holiday mode because I did have a really chilled week where we didn't do a lot. I didn't take my laptop with me. We didn't really go a lot of places because although there was a heat wave last week, being near the coast, it was a lot cooler. It was like 21 degrees there rather than the 33 degrees that it was at home, which I actually felt quite smug about. I felt like
Yeah.
I'd got a cheat code for life. It was still quite warm in the daytime and we had to be careful, so we just chilled out. I did a lot of crochet because this is proven to be a very quick whip round of my last 3 weeks. I haven't really touched my scarfigan for your wedding for a few weeks because I'll go through phases with it where I'm just hyper focused on it and then I just haven't got the energy to pick it up. And we had
A
we
social.
went to a crochet, we had a
Cro-cial.
social, yeah,
Cro-cial.
crochet
A cro-cial.
event of leaving the house. And I
Okay.
brought my crochet with me again
Yeah.
and did 3 rows of it. And then we were making some watermelons.
Where?
So I switched to that instead.
Yeah.
But because there's 6 rows in a round, I was like, I need to continue to do that. So I did
Good.
3 rows and then another round. And then the next day I did another round. And it's been quite a good way to chill out and zone out. So I'm hoping that I'll continue to do it now. I mean, I've not got really a choice unless I want to be the only one that hasn't got a scarf again at your wedding.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it would be a problem if I was the only one without a scarf again at your wedding.
We just wrap you in the wool and then that'll be fine.
Entirely from head to toe.
Yeah, mummified you just.
That's fine. At least I'll be warm.
You would.
So that was that. The week before our holiday, my husband was off work, but I wasn't technically. So I was just in between and bitting and bobbing. And that was the week that I came to see you. And I also went for a spa day with my mum,
Mum drop calling.
which was nice. Because one of my happy places, sort of, that's got good memories is Centre Parks. And there's one not really too far from us. And the spa at Centre Parks has got loads of different rooms and you don't have to sit in the same place for too long. So it's quite a good one for not getting overwhelmed by it. Because if a sauna is busy, there's always another one that you can go into or another steam room and an outside pool. And I tend to find that water's quite regulating for me, like being in water, hence why I have 4-hour baths. And so I've never been to that spa with my mum before, but I got a voucher and I was like, right, my husband's out home for the dog, let's go for the spa day. So we did. And that was lovely. And it came as a lovely squirrel, yes, because we had afternoon tea as well. And there was a squirrel that I think is just there every day because obviously it's where the restaurant is and it's outside and it knows that if it sticks around it gets crumbs and things. So it was like my surrogate Bernie. It was just laid on the chair next to me, just looking at me for crumbs, which is what Bernie does. And then it was just moseying about to see if there was anything that it could have from other people and darting about and things. And it was really cute. I don't know whether I told you about the robin. Apparently the robin comes every morning for a croissant.
Oh, nice.
It knows that it gets a croissant if it comes in the morning, so it does. And that was there as well. We went before the spa and then afterwards we went to get a drink before we drove home. And the robin was there as well. So
I wonder if eventually, like with crows, there'll just be lots of robins coming for croissants.
Potentially, like, because they've told each other that, like, this is where you go to get croissants.
Just like a flock of robins just coming for croissants.
I'd love to know how they communicate that.
Yeah, just
if you
croissant,
know how.
butter,
Come on.
pastry.
But it was definitely the same squirrel the first time as the second time.
That's cool.
So whether he hasn't told his mates about it, well, it was a she actually. I don't know, but it was a reasonably well-sized squirrel. So it had obviously done very well out of the
I've always wanted to go to Centre Parks
restaurant.
I think that in my little head would be one of the marker stones of success. Going to Centre Parks, it seems like something that is like an aspiration, something to aspire to because of how expensive.
If you can book it not in school holidays, which obviously generally you wouldn't be able to,
no,
it can be sort of bordering on reasonable. But yeah, the one near us is only in Sherwood Forest and it's like off the main road and it's like you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, which is why I like it. You just feel like you are somewhere completely different for the week. And everything that you need is there, like all the shops and the restaurants and things like that. And you can just chill out for the week. But we've not been to stay there since before we got burned because the dog ones are more expensive.
Yes, that makes sense.
But we came out of the spa, we were walking to the car and everything, and I just heard this roar cheer and then realised it was because England had scored, because England were playing that night against Mexico. And that was a really like, I looked at my mum and I'm like, what the was that? And realised it was like, and it was really cool because the pub where they must have been was like maybe half a mile away to a mile, and you could still hear it. And I'm just like, that's a really cool noise.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
was as we speak, they are playing Argentina this evening.
They are. We'll know
I
by the
suppose
time the podcast is. I know because it's coming out on Sunday, isn't it? So if you're listening to this on
so.
Sunday, you know,
Is the final on Sunday?
yeah, Sunday, 8 o'clock Sunday night, because we're away this weekend. And then on the Sunday, we'll be driving back. So I'm going to drive the last leg so that my fiance can watch the final in the car.
I found it really exciting this time. I mean, this is a tangent, but probably like in terms of football, I used to follow football when I was a kid because it was a thing that I shared with my dad. He'd supported Leeds since he were a young lad, and it was just something I sort of inherited. And then Leeds went a bit wonky, and my
That's
dad
one way of
died.
putting it.
So I don't necessarily follow football very much anymore, but World Cups are different. Like,
Yeah. But it's not as
getting
much of a
sort of the
commitment.
spirit of it all and the community aspect. Like, you
Yeah.
can, yeah,
See, for me, it's just not as much of a commitment because it's a smaller thing. Like, because autistic people tend to be a bit all in. So following football is a big commitment when the season is so long. Whereas
yeah,
for the World Cup being a few weeks, it's just a bit easier to keep track of. And obviously, this time it's been mad because of the times of the matches, and some of them have been really stupidly late, haven't they? And there
yeah.
was
The
one
one,
England game that started at 1 a.m. that I couldn't have watched. But it's still, it's just nice to, yeah, it's nice. I quite like it. I mean, I used to follow football a lot when I was younger as well. My brothers did, my dad did, and I always did until 2006-ish, really, when I stopped. But I don't really support a team as such now.
no,
But
I
it is
mean, I
nice
like
to,
to see Leeds doing well still,
yeah,
but I don't really know what they did this year or anything like that.
no idea.
And I tell a lie, I didn't watch the one at 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, it ended up being 2 o'clock in the morning, didn't it? The
Yeah,
whatever the game was.
I can't remember. But yeah, it wasn't something that was feasible for
Was
me.
that
And
Mexico? Mexico was the Centre Parks one.
it was more than 5 minutes ago, therefore I have forgotten.
Yeah, I've forgotten. So
Yeah.
we're not that committed. The
No, we're
ones that
not.
I've
It's
seen
just
so
nice though.
far, the ones that I have seen though, have been reasonably exciting, which is odd for an England game because usually they're quite boring and no goals happen.
Yeah.
There's been a fair amount of goals, haven't there?
And interest.
So we'll see.
I'll miss the second half of the one tonight because I'll be doing bedtime with my child. But I'll be able to watch the first half before he goes to bed. And I don't think it's worth keeping him up until the end because I think my life is just worth more.
Yeah, no,
That
especially
sounds
if it's got
harsh,
to.
but I
There
don't
was the
know.
whole thing, wasn't there, with the one that was at 1 o'clock in the morning about whether people were going to keep the kids up to watch that and then be in school on Monday morning. I mean, I don't judge anybody for it, but I thought it was really good how a lot of schools were like, don't keep your kid up till 1 o'clock for
I know
England.
that
Like,
quite a
just
few of them watched the match in
watch it in the
school.
assembly at 9 o'clock in the morning, yeah, and
Yeah.
watch it all together as live. And
Mhm.
that we didn't watch it all, but we watched the highlights in the morning. But
Yeah, I
I
just read through the highlights.
when I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning for the dog, I just checked on my phone just to see what the score had been anyway, so that I knew.
Hmm.
Because I also don't like not knowing things because I'm
Nope.
autistic.
Yes.
So that was it really. We had a lovely holiday. We had some crochet. We went to a crow vent. I've forgotten what it is now.
Crucial.
Crocial.
Crochet
And
social.
crow vent. Um, and went to the spa, and that's it, really. Probably
Mm.
more happened. Probably work stuff
Well,
happened. Definitely work stuff happened. But that's where I am right now.
good. Well, welcome back.
How have you
It's been
been?
a heck of a 3 weeks for me. It's been
Mm,
absolutely, when I was looking back, it just seems so much longer than 3 weeks because,
mm.
I mean, the book was published, so we've got the book here. My name's there, look, book. And then on the back, look, there's my face stuff. Yeah, there's look
Yeah.
like the barcode and stuff. Yeah, it's great. It's like a proper wedge as well. It's good. I'm very, very proud of this book. It looks very professional. The print is great. I've done a really good job of formatting it
Mm,
and writing it, but I'm really chuffed with it. But it was mad. I mean, I expected the book coming out to hit me like a ton of bricks,
mm-hmm.
as I said in the last podcast, and I was really emotional. And it was a huge deal getting it over the last hurdle and getting it actually published.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was mad. My brain just completely shut down. The way that I describe it is that my autism went into shutdown and ADHD took over. I was forgetting things. I was all over the place. I had no focus. It was really, really challenging. And I knew it was going to be, but I'd completely underestimated the level of impact that I would still be feeling a few days later. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the reasons why I was frustrated later in the podcast around the time. But yeah, I've been obsessing over stats around the book and the sales stats. And then I've sent a couple of emails out through my email provider, which I've not done before. It's been a long time. I've just set that up. And so I've been obsessing over stats around the book and stats around emails. And that's been my kind of safety, I guess, over the past few weeks. And then I've been getting onto wedding stuff because it's only 3.5 months until I'm getting married. And it's becoming increasingly apparent how little I have actually finalised and arranged and sorted. Although we've got the key things done, this time last week there was still a lot of unknowns. We hadn't picked the menu, we hadn't sent any final invites out, we hadn't done anything like that. And it was starting to become something that I was getting increasingly anxious about. So we've done some wedding things. So I'm pleased now that my brain is reasonably back to normal after the complete shutdown that the book caused. Oh, another thing I can talk about actually is I listened to a book called Training for Your Old Lady Body by Elizabeth Davies, who is at This Woman Lifts on Instagram, and she's absolutely fantastic. She's a personal trainer and she works a lot to help take the reason we exercise and the reason we look after ourselves away from the aesthetics and towards the health benefits. And she talks about thinking of exercise as putting into a pension pot for our older selves. And it's a really, really interesting concept because a lot of people motivate themselves to exercise and move because of how it looks rather than because of how it feels and because of the benefit to our bodies. And in the book, there's sections for hypermobility.
If there's a section about mobility issues, then I need to know what that book's like. Because when you said training for your old lady body, I've had an old lady body since I was 12, so I could do with some.
So yes, so there's a section about mobility and mobility issues and how to work with what your body is able to do. It's really interesting. I mean, there's a bit about pelvic floor stuff. There's a bit about strength training and power training and the different kinds of training and the different benefits that they have and the benefits of cardio and heart health. I mean, I'm not sponsored by Elizabeth Davies, just to be clear, but it's something that I need to do a post about online because I found it very, very interesting because it explains what happens to the joints when you do the exercise and why it helps rather than just, oh, do this and it'll have this result. And I think that that's really, really useful for autistic people specifically because knowing the why can really help in actually understanding the benefit of exercise. And yeah,
that
it was
then motivates you, doesn't it?
yeah. There is quite a lot in the book about joint problems and how to. It's basically little and often, isn't it? It's basically little and often, but she explains how each joint is supposed to move, safe ways to do that. It was a really, really interesting book to just completely distract me because it's some new information and learning, obviously, with my brain being how it is. Learning helps to distract and process, and it was really nice. I listened to it in the car last week. I did quite a lot of driving and it was really good to have that to listen to. I found it really interesting.
It's good. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like my husband, I don't know if it's a similar thing, but it's what comes to my mind is my husband will keep things that he finds in case anybody needs them. Like he once gave you a kitchen roll, or not that he'd bought it and thought I'll keep it till Emma needs it, but you know what I mean? Our drawers are full of things that my husband might need to give to somebody one day. And I suppose books and information can be like that for us because we don't know when someone's going to need it or when it might fill a gap in conversation to go,
No, I suppose.
as well, you've got that information now, you've got that data to be able to tell people about it and it might be helpful for them one day. So
Until I forget, which I will. But I might.
And then you'll go, there's this thing, I'll just Google it. I was thinking about it the other day. Let me just Google it. But you still know.
Yeah, I mean, this is a book that I will recommend repeatedly to people. And as I say, I want to do a social media post about it because I found it has the right level of information in it to give the explanations and the reasons why and the benefits in a way that is understandable rather than just do this and you'll look better. Because the whole health and fitness industry, or a lot of it, is very toxic. And the way that women have been encouraged to exercise so that we'll look a certain way or be a certain size or whatever is horrific, really. And it is really nice and refreshing to kind of get a completely different perspective with the science behind it. And so, yeah, that's been one of my really positive, and my garden as well. I've got loads of tomatoes. Loads and loads and loads of tomatoes. I am officially a successful daughter. I have done all of my dad would have ever expected me to now because I have successfully grown 2 tomatoes that have ripened. I ate one of them and I took the other to my mum. Mum dropped calling. It was tiny, but I pulled it off the plant that morning and I was going home. We went to a couple of funerals and I put it in a little bag and got there and I was like, right, don't say I never give you anything. Just presented her with this
the idea of you
micro
just
tomato.
rocking up pre-funeral with a tomato in a bag.
That's pretty much what happened.
And I feel like your mum would have just been like, okay, Emma, thank you.
She was really pleased.
Well,
I
no,
mean, there's very few things in life better than a freshly grown tomato. So
no, well, there you go.
But yeah, so I've successfully ripened 2 tomatoes now. I have lots of tomatoes in my greenhouse I've been ravaged by spiders multiple times because my greenhouse has been overtaken by spiders. But yeah, there's loads of them. There's loads. I mean, if anyone wants any tomatoes in a few weeks, I'll have plenty. So just let me know. I'm not posting people tomatoes.
Emma is now a neurodivergent coach / tomato farmer.
Tomato farmer just for this season.
What, you're not going to do it anymore?
Next summer I will, but I might have a different volume of tomatoes next year.
If anybody wants any lavender, I'm accidentally immense at growing lavender. Apparently, like my mum
dropped calling.
Got me these tiny little plants for my birthday a long time
Whenever it was.
And she got herself some of the same lavender plants and hers died. Anyway, when we got the garden done, she planted them in the corner. And I don't really do much to them except trim them when it gets to the end of the time. And honest to God, it's come back beautiful. Like, I don't even know what I've done, but apparently I'm a really successful lavender farmer.
That's what it is. It's your success. It's not nature doing its thing.
My roses are not doing so well at the minute, and I really need to have a chat with them because I can't really allow another rose that I bought for my dad to die.
No, that wouldn't do.
I think the heat's got to it, and I'm hoping by watering it'll, but it's not looking good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so yeah, that is our hyper focuses multiple of the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're very
last 3 weeks. So shall we do a main section?
We're going to do a rave.
Oh yeah, and then a main.
Forgotten about the rave. How could you have forgotten about the rave, Claire?
Silly me.
Are you ready to rave?
I think so.
Okay, here we go.
Excellent.
Still great.
Excellente.
Right.
Rave.
So, the main section.
The main section. The section of mains.
Yeah, it's been a while. Not desserts, not starters.
No. Is the language that we use to describe autism or neurotypes or that sort of thing, and why we might have different choices and why that's okay. Is that a good summary?
I think probably, yeah. It's cropped up in a couple of places, hasn't it? So we thought, and it's been on the list for a while, so we thought we'd just talk about how it's okay to use the language that you want to use, but there's also technically right language when it comes to neurodiverse and neurodivergent. And so I guess if I start the section with the whole neurodiversity includes everybody. Neurodiversity was a term coined in the 80s and is about the human brain being different and how everyone's brain is different and no brains are the same. And it's not about having a prescribed condition, it's about how brains work in different ways. And so when you say that somebody is neurodiverse and you mean neurodivergent, then what it kind of does is it excludes neurotypical people and basically says you've got neurodiverse brains and then all the neurotypical people have the same brain, which is not true. I mean, I know there are some neurotypical people that listen to this podcast, and you will know that your brain doesn't work the same as the next person. Everyone's brain is different. The different neurodivergent traits impact different people in different ways. And so that is the kind of the definition that I try to reinforce. I don't have a go at people for getting it wrong unless they're in a profession where they should be getting it right. Like if an ADHD coach starts getting confused between the terms, and I'm like, but you have to include neurotypical people in neurodiversity because it's just not, yeah, it's not okay to not.
I mean, that's what diversity means, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
that we're all
Yeah, but like,
yeah.
But I don't expect everybody to know because you only know when you know, and it is confusing because the words are so similar. It's confusing. And in the past, I've had people get quite defensive where I've posted on social media about it. And I'm not having a go. I'm saying that if you're a professional in this arena, it's important to get the terminology right. But as long as you're trying, it's like with anything. If you're saying things through lack of knowledge or through confusion or through whatever, it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes, and it's not having a go. But for anyone who is interested in the terminology, technically, neurodiversity is all people. Neurodivergent people are those who experience neurodivergent traits to a level at which they are impacting daily life. Because as we've spoke about many, many times, a lot of the traits are human nature, and most people experience some traits to some degree on some occasions. So within neurodiversity, you've got neurotypical and neurodivergent, and it's kind of the main reason for this conversation is the diagnosed versus discovered thing, isn't it? But also, I know you've written down this such as neurospicy and things like that people sometimes prefer.
I think it's a lot of the language when you start thinking about it. Like when I got my diagnosis, the lady said to me, she said currently it's known as autistic spectrum disorder. But she said I would expect that to change because a lot of people don't like the idea that it's a disorder. Some people prefer to call it a condition.
Yeah, so
some people
ASC
don't
is
like to pathologize it because it is just a different type of brain, which I agree with.
Yeah.
But it was a comment on a post, which we're not going to name because we don't need to, but it sort of triggered in my mind the idea that someone had put where a group of women had been described as having late diagnosis of autism, and this person had said it's discovery, not diagnosis. It's not a disease. And so I responded and said my sort of I need to correct you sort of thing that is
social justice.
Typically, autism. You're right, it's not a disease, but it is a diagnosis. I received an autism diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I actually used the because I was replying not late on at night, but in the evening, I'd quickly typed having autism, and they'd come back and said, well, I don't have autism, I am autistic. And that is also how I would describe it myself, because having autism sounds like I have arthritis, like disease, and making out that it's something that's wrong with you. And I get that, but in my mind, and in the minds of a lot of people that also commented, it is a diagnosis because you've gone to a clinician. The clinicians looked at the evidence that they've got from the things that you've said, and they've said you are autistic.
Yeah.
And then that goes on your medical record, and that can help you to access services that you need. It can help you to explain how you perceive the world, and in some cases, unfortunately, to be taken more seriously
Yes.
than a discovery, which is also completely valid. If
Yeah.
you look at it and you look at the traits list, or you look at what autism is and you say, I'm autistic,
Without that
that it in
medical.
itself for some people can be enough, and that's
Yeah.
fair enough. But some people need the finality of that being something that is on the medical records and is something that they've got in black and white to validate what they think about themselves and to validate the way that they see the world. There isn't wrong answers to anything. It's just interesting to think about the different ways that people would describe.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of people will say I'm autistic, but then I have heard some people saying that they prefer to say that they have autism.
Yeah.
It's like whether you call yourself neurodivergent, whether you call yourself ADHD, whether you call yourself neurospicy, neurosparkly or whatever. I'm not a fan of those terms myself, but a lot of people do use them. And for me, the distinction is you discover that you're autistic. You discover that in like later in life or whenever when you discover it, whether you're autistic or ADHD, and then it's confirmed in an assessment, which leads to a diagnosis. And that's the medical way to define it in my mind. But I always say late diagnosed, undiscovered where I can and in my work, because a diagnosis doesn't do anything other than categorize the traits and provide validation to the person and reassurance that some people need. Not everybody needs to have that validation. Some people are happy to say, oh, I identify with loads of the traits and I don't need to go down that path, as you've said. But I think if you do go down that path, which this person had, you have to accept that it's been sort of prescribed.
That's what the word
Yeah.
means,
Yeah.
diagnosis, but they were saying that you could diagnose somebody as being neurotypical, and why don't we do that? And in my mind, the reason for that is, as I think I said to them, the world has been built, whether it was on purpose, rightly or wrongly, with neurotypical people in mind, and that is why a majority of neurodivergent people find elements of that world difficult to access. And by giving them the diagnosis, you're also giving them potentially the tools to be able to access what they need to make things easier for them, or to be able to explain what they need to make things easier for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it to an extent, and I think it was because that particular person had had a negative experience of their diagnosis and the whole process. That then goes into the black and white thinking of it, doesn't it? That just because you've had a negative experience doesn't mean that everybody has.
No. A lot of people find the actual diagnosis part hard and accepting it after diagnosis because it is on paper. It's a lot different to say, this is how I identify, and this is something that has now been prescribed to me. And a lot of people find it difficult to accept a diagnosis, even as something that we've already known for a long time, because of the finality of it and the all of the stereotypes kick in, and then you don't have to have difficult conversations, but potentially telling people and different people finding out and judging in different ways when they don't have the knowledge and the awareness, and it feels like you have to act on it once it's there in paper, and that can be difficult for a lot of people. But that doesn't take away from the fact that that's what it is. And being able to say I'm autistic is fine. You don't have to say I have been diagnosed with, but
No, and you generally wouldn't, would
no,
you? Even,
you
or
wouldn't
at least
specify.
I wouldn't, and
No,
I wouldn't see myself as gold standard autistic just
yeah,
because I have a diagnosis and someone else doesn't. Because even just down to the fact that it's so difficult it's a postcode lottery, and
it's a long wait. I mean, I've
yeah,
been on the list now for over 3 years. It would have been 3 years in June since I was put on the list for autism assessment. But people in the neurodivergent community don't generally care whether somebody has been
no,
diagnosed or not. And so, but in an article about that subject, I think it's obvious that the people that are spoken to in the article do care about that. And as you've said, you can't invalidate a whole group of people just by saying, that's not my experience. It's always okay for people to have their own perspective and their own experience. And technically, it's the correct thing is to say that it's a diagnosis. And there's a lot about in an ideal world, and it frustrates me kind of when I see people saying, but in an ideal world, we wouldn't need these diagnoses because everyone would just be accepting of everything how it is and the world would be built for all neurotypes and all of that, and it's only a medical condition and it's only a disability because of the world. And if the world changed, I'm like, yes, if the world changed, it would be different, but the world hasn't changed, and the world is hopefully very slowly changing. But in our lifetime, I don't foresee that things will have changed enough for autism and ADHD, other different neurodivergent conditions to not be disabilities still, because there is so much of society that needs to change for them to not be a struggle. I mean, if there's no struggle, there doesn't need to be a diagnosis because
then it's not I don't want to use the word issue,
yeah,
but if there wasn't any difficulty that a person experienced from having a thing,
yeah,
then it's
it's
not
null
a
and void,
thing.
isn't it?
It's like having brown hair or something like
Yeah,
that, isn't it? Is how it should be. It's just
yeah,
like, oh, my brain is like that. But it's so ingrained to generations and generations and generations because even 2, 3 generations back, they didn't have the language to explain what autism is
no,
like they do
yeah,
now. I mean, autism didn't exist as a diagnosis.
no,
It would have been written off as something else.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's the language that people choose to use is valid, and it also comes from a place of experience and your experience of your autism and
yeah,
what you want to say about how you came to that realization that you are autistic.
yeah,
There's a thing about language being sort of when you're analysing texts and things in English as a subject, as long as you can say why you think a text means what you're saying you think it means, and
yeah.
you've got evidence for that, there's no wrong answer.
No, being
And
able to an analysis of books and things, yeah, it's the same.
but
Yeah,
in
I know what
life
you
as
mean.
well, like, and
Yeah,
it's like, if I said to you a tree, you might think an oak tree, you might
yeah,
think a fern, and I might think something completely different. A word can have different meanings to
yeah,
different people,
yeah,
and that's a tricky thing for a neurodivergent brain to accept because you want it to be black and white. Like if I say tree to you, I
yeah,
want you to go, oh yeah, an oak tree.
yeah. And that's kind of one of the things. I mean, I was going to talk about this earlier, but I'm doing a rejection sensitivity workshop
Mm.
on Friday, which will have ran by the time this is aired. And one of the big things around communication and rejection is when you say something to a person and they react in a way that's different to what you expect them to react, it's not necessarily because they've heard you wrong. It's not necessarily because you've done something or said something wrong. It's because different things mean different
Mm.
things to different people, and you don't know what that person's perception is of what you've said. And so to be able to step back and say, I wasn't expecting you to react that way. Can you tell me what you think I've said? So
Mm.
it's about having that openness, trying to stay open-minded to different people's reactions and different people's perceptions can help with confrontation and spiraling and all of
Mm.
that stuff. Because if you acknowledge that different people will hear things in different ways,
Mm.
then it can be really useful. And when you showed me the post earlier and I went and had a look, and it's just like, I appreciate this black and white thinking, but it feels trolley to me. It feels deliberately like baiting people into having an argument because you're going onto a post that is a celebration of autism
In
and
women
in
specifically,
women,
yeah.
and just arguing a point just for the sake of it. And it just feels like that's what reinforces the stereotypes and it reinforces negativity. And we should be celebrating each other regardless of the language that we're using. We should be able to sort of stand together and say, you can say you have autism and I can say I'm autistic, and you can say that we're diagnosed and you can say that we're discovered or
You say
whatever.
tomato,
Yeah,
I say tomato.
absolutely. We'll start. We could write a song together,
Mm.
Claire. Shall we do that?
Not right now, but
right now.
it can go into That'll Be the Tism, the musical,
Yeah.
which is a throwback to probably about 20 episodes ago now, if
Probably, yeah.
not around that.
Yeah, probably. We would have
Because
talked
that was
about it.
Les Puzzles, wasn't it? If you want to know about that, Les Puzzles
Episode
and
10.
yeah, and possibly the one before that, because that was Les Puzzlerables.
Oh, it's not it. Les Puzzlerables was episode 11, Bending Off Crabs. And then also I've got a bus cat, which was episode 12. It came from Les Puzzles because it came from the Descriptism.
Yes, of
It
Les
was Les
Puzzlerables,
Puzzles.
and then we spoke about it in
Yeah, we spoke
I've
about it
Got
in
a
the
Bus
following.
Cat again because we were in Manchester for the Steps musical.
Talking about it. So yeah, anyway, that can be one of the songs.
Anyway, yeah.
That can be one of the songs that we do with is the tomatoes and tomatoes and
You
potatoes and potatoes
say
and
autism and I say autism.
yes. Autism is a new thing. We'll do that.
You have autism and I am autistic.
Yeah.
Anyway, if
Mhm.
you'd like to
Tell us how you talk about your own autism.
what I was going to say, if you'd like to contribute to the Kickstarter, it will be out very shortly.
We're not doing a GoFundMe for this musical.
Why?
I've not got time in my life this year, Claire. Please.
Look, you've done a book. Now
Please
you
don't
do a
add any
musical.
more. I sent this mailing list out right this morning for the first time in 18 months, and the list of things that I have accomplished this year and done this year, and I'm like, how? No, I don't need anything else this year.
But
All I've
look,
got to do is get through the summer, not go bankrupt, and have a wedding. That is my goal, and then I'm
you
starting
could premiere it at the wedding.
Don't think we need to do a performance of the potatoes, Tism Tasm song at the wedding. I don't think
No,
we
it
need
would
to do
be the
that.
full musical.
We can't write a full musical between now and the end of October.
I think that's very defeatist
I
attitude.
am maybe, but even so,
You've written a book this year. You're telling me you can't write a musical
took me
as
2 years. It took me 2 years to write a book.
So in 2028,
Expect
Les Puzzlerables
expect the Tism musical in 2028.
is occurring.
Sure, fine. Whatever.
Probably. Anyway.
I'm not committing to that, but you've got it now, so it's up to you to lead the way.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, however you want to refer to any diagnoses that you have or discoveries about yourself that you have, it's okay.
It's okay.
Maybe
and
not.
We're interested to hear about the wording and things.
What do you call your autism?
What do you
I call mine Dave.
Brian.
Brian, yes, our autism is called Brian. Anyway, trait of the week.
Trait of the week.
Trait of the week. Why am I singing all the things and then it's going to be...
I think you've forgotten that we do have them now because it's been that long since we've used them.
No, I haven't forgotten, but I'm just singing them because that's how Les Puzzlerables gets made.
If you think that singing them means that we don't have to edit them in afterwards, then you're wrong because we do.
We could just put, if I sing them live, we could just put the graphics over the top and everything will be fine. Anyway,
so the trait of the week is following the rules.
Yes, inflexibility with
rules. This is one of the biggest differences between ADHD and autism, and one of the biggest conflicts as well, because the ADHD need to break the rules versus the autistic need to follow the rules can be, and it varies from day to day, but a lot of ADHD is like when I have my ADHD assessment, and part of the standard ADHD assessment is to ask about drugs and stealing and things that are adrenaline fueled and often potentially illegal. And I was just like, no, I can't do anything like that. Don't be ridiculous. That's one of the big tells of ADHD, is that the autism sort of restrains the ADHD urge to break the law a little bit more. It's not always breaking the law, and I mean I found addictions in other places with spending and eating and working, but it is very common. But rule following has always been probably one of my strongest autistic traits, the need to follow a process and to follow a procedure. And if someone says this is the way things are done, then that has to be the way they are done. I was talking last week to somebody in a networking meeting about HelloFresh, not sponsored by, because we've started using HelloFresh again, because a man came to my door and sold me a really good deal and started talking about neurodivergence. And, you know, he was scanning my QR code and all sorts by the end of the conversation. It was bizarre. But if you're listening to this, HelloFresh man, hi.
Oh yeah, it could be.
So I was saying how with the HelloFresh, I have to try and make the meal look like it looks on the picture to mix success. But like I'll deal my sons up, like I deal it up in a way that I know he'll eat it, and I'll dish my fiance's up in a way that I know he'll eat it, because they're both quite particular about how food is presented.
Yeah.
And I'll be trying then with mine to match it to the photo, because that's the way that it's supposed to be made according to the recipe. So yeah, things like that are quite, and the book thing that I mentioned earlier that I said, oh, we'll talk about that later, is the whole Amazon bestseller thing is ridiculous, because it's not a real thing. It doesn't take very many book sales to get a bestseller if you're in the right categories. And that's the problem, because my book would have got an Amazon bestseller on 2 Kindle categories. However, a lady has written some fiction books and put them in my non-fiction category. And that's just annoying. Something that I've seen advised for fiction authors, because what they can do is you get 3 categories and you can use 2 fiction categories and then a category that doesn't have very many books published in it, like the household hints and the property guides and things like that, where it's easier to get a bestseller, so you don't have to sell very many. And if you're number 1 at the end of a day, then you get an Amazon bestseller in that chart. And I wasn't bothered before I knew that they were fiction books. And then when I looked at the chart at the end of the first day, and I was like, these are fiction, but in 2 categories, one of them had 1 book ahead of me and the other had 3. And it's so frustrating, because it's not the rule. It's not the no, you put your book in categories that it fits in, and sometimes it's hard to find the categories, but they still have to vaguely resemble the right categories, because otherwise it's just not fair. So I suppose there's a social justice to it as well. But yeah, that's a rule following issue.
Yeah, so we had that, didn't we? And my one was, I'm gonna try and word this non-specifically, but I had a situation where there was something that I had been asked to do, and I wasn't sure whether I should be doing it. Not because there was anything wrong with it, but because of like the
regulations, essentially, the regulations around what
the
you're allowed to do.
regulations around it, and whether or not it was, if something's a grey area, which I think that this particular thing is.
Yeah.
There's the school of thought that's like no one's going to really care, which was your perception of it, because you're ADHD.
And my experience as well.
And also your experience as well. Yeah. But then there's mine that's like, no, this is what I've seen somewhere. And if I do this thing, I don't know whether I should be doing this thing.
Yeah.
And even though I know what you're saying and I know your experience, I can't do it until I know for myself that that's okay and I've got it in black and white, because in my mind it's a potential rule.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's been too vague or not. Do you think that
I don't think so. It's basically, the summary is that when there's certain rules and regulations around things, and that you need them to be clarified and make sure that you're erring on the right side of the grey, really.
And some of it's confidence as well. And I think because I'm not necessarily the most confident of people, and I'll question my decisions and my actions in life, which I think is an autistic thing in itself, isn't it? You'll go, I've done this or I've said this, and this might happen and this might happen and this might happen, the rumination and you know what I mean? Inflexibility with rules for me is a way to prevent that rumination from happening.
Yes.
because I know that if I've got it in black and white,
Absolutely. You
that
can't get pulled up.
it's irrefutable.
It can't. And that's one of the reasons why rules are so important to
It's so
autistic people, because
annoying because
it's a level of control.
like for speeding, for example, I mean, I have had a speeding ticket before, and it was accidental because I'd not realised what the speed limit was in an area. But when I got the speeding ticket, I rang my mum crying because I was like, am I going to have to go to court? 'Cause if you've never had one, it says on it notice of intended prosecution. So my brain went, I have broken the law, I'm going to have to go to prison, which is not the case. It's literally just either you get fined or you go on a speed awareness course, which is what I did. But it annoys me that as a rule follower and somebody who thought they were following the rules in that situation, I wasn't. And I
Yeah.
suppose that's what the speed awareness course taught me, is that I know what to look for now.
Yeah.
But then there's people that I know that will just bomb about everywhere over the speed limit and nothing ever, touch wood. But it's things like that and laws and rules and things that people do break.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Which also for me falls then into lying being a rule and not being able to lie. And if I've done something and I perceive that to be wrong and against a rule that I've set for myself, I have to go, I'm really sorry I've done this. And people are like, well, don't worry about it.
A big part of when I first started being coached years ago, before I knew about neurodivergence, one of the biggest things for me was who was setting the rules, who was setting the deadlines, that I was getting upset for missing deadlines. And I'd been the one that set them in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's like, who is setting the rules and who is setting the deadlines, and is it someone else, or do you have control over how you see them or how you amend them, or you can consciously make a decision to change that deadline or that rule
Your
that you
own
set
rule.
when it's something that's come internally. The first time I was asked, when I was back doing bookkeeping, the first time I was asked, well, who set you this deadline? And I was like, well, apart from the HMRC deadlines, they're all mine. Like, well, why? What bad is going to happen for you moving this? It's okay to. I mean, it's kind of swings and roundabouts, because that used to be one of my big coping strategies with ADHD and time blindness, to set myself very, very strict deadlines that I had to follow. And as soon as I took that away as a forced thing and realized that I could change the goalpost, it became a lot more difficult to stick to them. But then the amount I'd been beating myself up if for any reason I'd gone over and I had a new baby, and, parenting is not a predictable thing. So there was a lot of reasons why I was starting to miss deadlines, but they were my own. And so I didn't need to punish myself. And it was really eye-opening, actually, having that as a thing. And it's who's setting the rules. But yeah, anything that we're told to do by X date, or you're told to do a certain way, whether it's school or whether it's with submitting forms or anything else, it covers so many areas of life where you see someone doing something and you're like, that's not quite what it said on that email, or why are they doing it
It's
that way?
like with forms, I'm always really careful with forms that I fill in things with as much information as I can, as factually as I can. And then there'll be other people that'll look at it and go, oh, just put that, it'll be fine. But no, it's asking me that question, so I'm going to answer that question, even if it takes me 10 days.
So yeah, following the rules.
Following the rules.
And then we're going to our random factoid. And now for this week's random factoid. These ones come from my mum. Mum drop calling.
Yes.
So
had a message from a listener who is also your mum.
We've had a message from a listener.
Woohoo!
So we can put two in there.
I know, yeah. Wow. I went to see my mum a few weeks ago, and she said, I've got some things to tell you. And it's for Claire as well. And we got to the podcast today and we were like, do we have a random fact? And I'm like, well, my mum told me those. So I sent you a message saying, did you know female lobsters are called hens? It's from my mum.
Kens.
And that Kens. Ken the lobster.
Female lobsters are called Ken. Title of the podcast if we don't find another one.
All of them. So mum wanted male ones to be called cockerels. And then you said they're called cocks. And if the females are smaller than a pound, they're called chickens, which is quite frankly ridiculous. There was a swear word in there as well. I'm not going to use it because age limits and all that.
And then I said that I was starting to go down a rabbit hole, and I said to you, one with no claws is called a pistol. And then I said, no, Emma's mum, no rabbit holes today.
Because it was like 11 o'clock at night, because obviously, why wouldn't it be? But yeah, the whole if it's lost its claws, it's called a pistol thing was amazing. I liked that.
Yeah.
And then Mum hit me with another fact, and that's that the hairs on an elephant's tail can grow up to 1 meter long. And as well as swatting flies, they sometimes use them to hit each other with. And that's quite a nice elephant-based fact, because I do like an elephant.
But is it like to hit each other violently or just playfully?
I think
Like,
just playfully, I don't know.
oh,
I mean,
you know.
I love that impression of an elephant there.
Oh, you know
Um,
what I mean?
It's usually a playful behaviour, a way to relieve stress, or a subtle part of communication. Key reasons elephants use their tails: play fighting, affection and reassurance, so comfort each other, to guide and lead the way, which we knew from the Jungle Book, that famous documentary, the Jungle Book Disney film, where the baby elephants hold onto the mum's tail.
Wasn't that presented by David Attenborough?
The Jungle Book
Hello, Dave.
by
How are
Dave.
you?
And fly swatting. So yeah.
Do elephants flirt?
Do elephants flirt? Yes, elephants absolutely flirt. Elephant courtship involves a range of playful and deliberate behaviours, including gentle trunk wrestling, caressing, and rubbing against one another. So yeah, they have a specific walk as well that they do with a distinctive raised head and often look over their shoulders to catch the attention of nearby males. Yeah, I don't need to read all of this out, but yeah,
No. Check if they're like
the
checking out
mating habits of elephants
is for next episode.
is for another time.
Mm.
But thank you very much, Mum, for the facts. And
Thanks, Emma's mum.
we are grateful.
Yes.
If anyone wants to send us any facts at any time, please do send us facts with any other feedback and any other information and any language that you might use and questions and general correspondence. We like to be talked to most of the time.
And you can send that to that'llbethetism@gmail.com.
Yes, or you can find us on social media if you go to linktr.ee/that'llbethetism and send us messages on social media. And please rate us on your podcast provider of choice, because then more people will be shown our podcast, and we would like people to listen to us whiffle.
Yes. And watch us waffle.
Watch us waffle.
Title of the podcast. We've got so very many this time. We'll see what happens. We will see you in a couple of weeks, all being well.
Yeah, we'll be back. It's going to be the first.
It will be August
though,
by the time that the next one is out.
2nd of August.
Yeah.
So but it's the first week of the school holidays when we're next recording the podcast.
Fun time.
The summer holidays are going to be upon us. So all parents, you've got this and stuff. Have a lovely time, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We are very, very grateful for your support and engagement and existence.
Bye.
Bye.
That'll be the tism.